Hi everyone, it's your Simmer here. We're spring here in year 98, and I'm going to go ahead and get my planting done. I was going to do sunflowers, but given the timing of when this falls, and the fact that I learned last time I need to apply herbicide the day after I plant, so I need 2 days in a row. This works out better with my schedule to plant today rather than wait until tomorrow, which is when I could plant sunflowers and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in canola, I believe will be a good option, as good as any. So I'm going to get set for that. So as always, I'm going to get out here. You can see I have no seeds and no fertilizer and about half the seeds. So I'm going to go get that remedied first, and then I'll be back. Alright, so as I was putting my trailer away, I came around the auger that I usually fill with, that you can see there left of the shed through the trees. I came around and went through the trees and realized I still had my harvester sitting out here on the field from when I had to very quickly finish the harvest last time. So obviously I can't plant while the harvester's sitting there. It kind of gets in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and get that moved now. And you can see I've got a lot of seeds in the truck there. So I had set, well, I thought I had set a fill limiter, and instead found out that I guess I had not. I guess I did my math wrong, although I used a calculator to do it, but oh well. I'll just worry about that later on, I guess. Looks like my hoses are connected in the back this time. You know what? I'm going to reconfigure this because I had talked about doing this differently, but to do that I have to make some changes. So I'm going to put the seed cart in the back and put the seeder right behind the tractor. I think that's going to just maybe make things a little bit easier, and I've also noticed that's more of the configuration that folks use. So I'm guessing it works better. But I've always done it this way, but maybe I've just always been a little bit backwards. So as always, when I'm doing that, I've got things kind of messed up here. So let me see if I can get all this out of the way. I'm going to have to deal with these seeds later because I need this trailer for putting things into the cattle silo. So I'd prefer to leave it, but anyway, I think that'll work for now. A little tight around the yard here. Let me run around this way. So the other problem I'm going to have is when I change the configuration, this is going to then cause things to disconnect. Now I'm standing on top of the config button, which probably won't work. Oh boy, I just was trying to get more in there, but alright. So if I want to customize this, I want to do tow behind. I could do a conveyor at some point, but it doesn't matter if I'm filling it with the auger. Alright. So let me customize that. And then again, I need to reattach everything. But I can't obviously reattach part of this, so let me get this out here. So I can get everything reconnected the other way. But what my hope is that it'll make it a little bit easier to maneuver everything. And at this point, you know, this is where I'm going to want this sitting. And obviously, it's, you know, we'll have to have the piping redone, or the feeder hoses redone here. I don't know that I totally need that, but I'm going to do that anyway, just to move it and not have any challenge. Alright, so we're going to customize, and so yeah, toe behind, that'll work. That doesn't cost me anything in this case. So I just need to, again, reconnect because all that drops off. But you can see now the hoses go out the back. Okay, we made it. I barely got hooked on the tree, but obviously it caused enough pain there. Now this will cause plenty of pain, because it's always that fun of trying to back this in. But, you know, the other piece I'll have is I can just kind of pull up with the auger and then pull away, which is not something I was easily able to do with it in between. Need to go back here. I'm like, well, why is it not telling me? Am I not close enough? But I am. Alright. So, why will it not do I not have the hoses connected up here, and therefore, no, I do. Interesting. Oh wait, now they show us connected. Interesting. Alright, well, as long as it all works, I suppose. I don't care how it functioned. Alright. So, just looks a little different, but hopefully that will get me what I want. So, I've adjusted my tracking for the fact that I'm not entirely full. Otherwise, I would have a little bit of a challenge. So, as I said, part of this is I've got to figure out what made sense. And today, planting, I've just got a little bit of a window here, so I'm just going to be able to get going, and then I'll have to stop. So, more than likely, that'll just be where I break between starting up here and being done. So there's not really, again, a point unless I've got something specific to cover to go on for lengths and lengths of time. Let's see. So I think if I go, say, here, that'll work, because this may be almost too much. But we'll figure it out. So we want to lower, and I should be all set then. Turn it on. You can see I've got canola set. So we'll get going here. And just kind of get close to the grass, and then I'll worry about heading down because I don't need to plant every square inch, and obviously given that I've got that center section that I'm not doing anything with, I don't need to move further and further over, because that'll just obviously create more and more challenge as I go. So looks like we've got to get about 135 kilograms of product in, although now we're higher up here. Now that we're out of silty clay and we're in sandy loam, the fertilization, the difference of what I'm putting in really hasn't changed, but you can see the target is higher in this area of the field based on the soil type I have. Oh, hold on. So I also realized I need to reset my values here so that my economic analysis gets tracked. And similarly, I want to clear my yield map. Basically, at the start of each cycle in precision farming, you want to go ahead and zero everything out. That way you can track more accurately. So I'll have gotten a little bit into the ground that would have showed up in the previous batch that I reset, but it shouldn't be too bad. Alright, and unfortunately I didn't set my GPS, so I'm gonna be off a bit anyway, but normally I'm kind of barely covering this, so I think what I'll do is I'll start doing that here, and then I'll get everything turned on, and hopefully I'm aligned in a way that will get me to the end of the field without pulling too far away, but I think I'm off. Oh well. So I'll do the normal touch-up I have to do at the end anyway, which is fine. So the cattle are doing their thing. They're 8 months in since we've had calves, which means we're 2 months away from having some more calves. And as I talked about in one of the previous episodes with the math for cattle, our cattle will still be, or will be at the point then the calves will have reached puberty as well, and then they'll be able to start generating milk, so our milk production will go up. I am unfortunately noticing a bit of a issue with the automatic robot feeder, and that is the fact that it's not even keeping up right now. I think 99,375 was the full point. I keep coming in and seeing 99,208. So it's not too bad, but what I don't know is that just kind of the new level that it's at because of the cattle, and I don't think that's accurate, because I think it was below 375, but I think it was higher than this. I'm not sure that's... Is it aligned? Well, it says it is. I can't believe I turned right on the line, but it appears I did. So I'll get this touched up here. But I think it's been slowly trickling down, and so my concern is if it's already doing that with just 72 head in the barn, when I get to my full 240, is my leakage going to increase? And then it becomes kind of, what do I do with that? I mean, it might be one of those that if it's just a few hundred a day, given that we're starting at almost 100,000, that, I'm going to have 30 years, 20 years, I don't know, before it would get to zero. and so that I just leave it, you know, don't worry about it, and it kind of becomes a, well, I've got to sell the barn now type of thing. And you know, or I have to supplement their food and kind of let it catch up or something. So I don't know, because again, it does, you know, when I did my calculations, it does like 3,150 liters an hour is the feeding it does. So definitely need to get a headland here, and I'll have to run down the other side of the field between here and field 13, if you recall. So not sure. I think canola's pretty light on the seed, if I remember, but I think the growing cycle's relatively lengthy, meaning I think this might be a 7-stage growth cycle. I don't remember offhand. So on 13 he had cotton. Looks like they did get it up. It doesn't look like withered crop. It looks like harvested. He did run into my field a little bit here. I saw that when I was harvesting, but things happen, and you know, it really didn't affect much. So, and obviously I've run into his field accidentally in the past, so it's kind of a bit of payback. I don't know. I mean, obviously I doubt he did it on purpose. I know he didn't do it on purpose, but you know, it wasn't even something that we had chatted about or anything. Like, he didn't give me a heads up. I didn't say, hey, I noticed, because it was just this tiny corner, and I'm sure it was, as he was going along, he thought he was clear. And if you don't have the GPS lines up on the screen, assuming he was using GPS, sometimes visually you're off a bit. So could have been any number of reasons, but in any event, it's canola now, and unless it repeats itself, it'll be canola when we harvest. So, but I just want to give myself plenty of room to turn around there. But what I wasn't sure is on seed consumption and such, how are things going to go? So going back to before I return to the cattle and kind of keep chatting through that, going back to the seeds, I had estimated things. I thought I had put the fill limiter on, and as I was filling the seeds at the custom silo to where we go to buy our product, I suddenly realized, far too late, but realized much too late, that it had blown past the fill limiter amount, and that obviously I had done something wrong and it had not saved the limit. So I ended up with, as I think you could see when I was moving the truck, about 18,000 liters more than I can accommodate in my silo. So my seed silo is full, or was full. I pulled things out of that to refill this harvester, or this seeder. I still will do that once I'm done, so I'll refill this to try to make as much room in the silo as I can. But even if I used everything, as you know, if it's fully full, it's 11,200 liters of seed. You know, we'll see if I do that completely, but using 18,000 I don't think normally happens, so I'm going to have some left. What I'll probably do is just let that sit in the auger, and then, you know, because I'll have filled the seeder again, I will start seeding next time, and then, you know, empty into it when I can. I kind of know the answer to this already. Well, it might rotate around. I'm surprised. I'm like, I think I'm not really going to be positioned, and I'm going to have to move over, but okay, just one. As long as it doesn't do another step, I should be okay. So yeah, so I've got a little bit of jockeying to do with the seed because of that snafu, because I think I ended up with, you know, the silo holds, I think, 27,500 or something, and I think I ended up with like 44,000 liters before I realized it and stopped the filling. So that kind of messed things up a little bit. But going back to the cow barn and the robot feeder, you know, I'm down, you know, with various things as far as the amount going down a little bit. And what I'd hate is that I just can't use the robot feeder long term. I mean, I'll be able to, but I just don't know exactly what I might have to do in between. Because I don't think there's a way to get TMR. Like, I can't buy that directly. I might be able to, so it might be one of those, like, I'm going to have to go and purchase, you know, if I could, what I would do is I would purchase enough to top myself up, and then would just have to do that to compensate for the leakage every little bit. And while irritating and, you know, poorly engineered in that case, it would be workable. I think I could do that, as you know, as long as it didn't turn into something crazy where, you know, I've got to refill it every day or something. Because the other side of that is that starts to get expensive. This is not going to work. I'm just going to cut my losses while I can. Let's see. My concern is I'm going to have to go too far into the water, and then I'm going to get a warning, and maybe not. All right. So let's see. All right. Oh boy. Still not sure this will work. So that's 1, 2. I think that's going to be a problem on the back end when I come back. So always a bit of fun as I plant this field. So I think what I'm learning is I really need to run 2 headland passes on the end there over the entirety of the field, not just between me and field 13. Because I felt, well, you know, I can drive into the water, so I don't need as much of a buffer, but, you know, and I probably could go in a little bit further, but I just kind of hate submerging everything and then potentially, in the few seconds or whatever it gives you to fix it, I can't do anything about that. So yeah, so that's what I've been keeping an eye on with the robot feeder, because I am seeing something strange. So obviously in a couple months we're going to add 36 more cows, so that's going to get us to, what, 108. So that will be same volume we had as the pigs, which maxed out the pigsty, but obviously the cow barn has a higher capacity, so we're going to be able to keep going, and we are not even halfway full at that point. But, you know, if I suddenly fall below 99,000, say, or even if I'm at 99,100, what I've not been able to verify, because I just haven't been coming in every day and taking measurements, but I may start doing that if I see a drop-off once I get the new cattle, does it trickle down, or is it one of those where it just stabilizes at some lower number? Because if it's the latter, I think that would be okay, because if it's like, well, it just doesn't ever fill it to 99,375 again, but it just stays at 99,000, like, I don't really care if I'm not at the peak level of being full, I just don't want to ever get to the point that can be empty. So what I don't want is it just keeps slowly trickling down, and eventually I'm at 55,000 and 45,000, because left long enough it could get to 0. It ends up just being the question of when whoever built the cow barn, because I think, if I recall, this is a mod that we have brought in. Like, they didn't maybe plan it out, or they looked at it and said, well, I can't make it work without it doing what this is doing, but it would take 100 years till it got empty or something. So they may be looking at it like nobody would play with it that long in a given game, so while it's not perfect, it's good enough. Kind of the old phrase of don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, where sometimes you can just take forever, and they could have just kept working on it and never released it because they were like, well, I can't ever solve the problem, so therefore it's not perfect, I can't put it out in the community, and then we wouldn't have it at all. So I'm just not sure what I'm seeing there, but that's partially or my biggest concern right now. Everything else seems manageable. The other thing I am playing with, and I'm not done experimenting yet, is I've been just playing and trying to understand how the BGAs that are available function. And so all I've done so far is use the small one, and of course, as I figured, we've got a little bit there that I've got to go back, and it's not the end of the world, but it probably is going to take a minute of time just to do this, which I'm sure farmers love, which is also, I'm sure, why as you go by farm fields, sometimes you'll see areas, especially in corners or whatever, that are like, oh, they missed that. And I think part of that is simply because coming back and not missing it is more difficult than it's worth, because it's the same thing. I'm probably going to get a single liter of canola off of that for fixing it, but it's just the principle of the matter with me. I like to have my fields look like I knew what I was doing and are done properly. So yeah, quickly taking a look at my consumption at this point, it looks like I'm going to run out of fertilizer here before I am going to run out of seed. It's almost the opposite. Usually I can get two loads of the planter and seed in the ground before I run out of fertilizer. So this is one to kind of try to remember, that canola is a very fertilizer intense crop. Because yeah, this is we're going to be at 50%. Right now, I mean, realistically, the consumption's going to be, well, maybe, but no, I'm 75% of the one hopper. Yeah, that 72% is not of my total seed, because I still have 98% in the other hopper. So yeah, and I'm at 50% of the fertilizer, which was full. So by the time I'm done with one hopper, and probably even before that, like, I may still be at 40% in this hopper when I run out of fertilizer. So this is almost like 4 times the consumption rate than is typical. So, wow. Oh, and I'm wondering, I don't have my crop sensor on. Let me change that. It doesn't appear to matter, but I wonder if it will matter for my score. Well, right now it doesn't, maybe because I have a crop sensor on the tractor. It has been nice to me. But, this is a bit of, so that whole anomaly there is what I've noticed when I did testing of precision farming, is that, you know, it's not fully modeled in realism, where it seems, as you can see, I don't need it on. Like, there's no difference with it on than with it off. While there may be a difference with having it installed and not having it at all. You know, right now, I'm still at 98%. Which is, once again, only helpful if I sell the crop on the server, which I did with a couple of my crops. So I did get the benefit of that. Now, the sad thing is I've also discovered I don't get that benefit for my milk, for my cows. So that falls apart. But at this point, I think I've got what I can do, or I've told you what I need to tell you, is really what I mean. What I'm going to do is finish planting this field, but as I said, I've got a small window this morning. I'm going to have to hop off now and go take care of some other things, but I'll get this planting done, and I will see you in a bit. Late in the day in March here, and I'm finally done planting. Let's see if I have all this figured out right. But this should top off the seeds. So I believe between what we were short and what we used, this is the right amount to fill up the seed hoppers. So I did have to refill the fertilizer, and we've used quite a bit more of that. Alright, and then yes, I think 5235 is what we have up front, which is what we actually used. The good news is we've emptied it. I don't have to put anything back. But yeah, the big question is going to be, is that really the right amount? Let's see. It's always a little bit of a trick here, trying to get in the right location, but I think I'm clean. So that should put me in a good spot to get most of the seed out of that crampy trailer. But I don't need to top off the fertilizer till next time, but again, I'm trying to get the seed out of the trailer is what my goal is. So that's why I want to get as much as I can into the implement, because then the silo can hold more. I guess we can get a little bit more in there. I don't understand why it stopped then, unless I just ran out on the one area. I don't know, because obviously it stopped at 5235. Yeah, I am not sure what is happening there, but I guess I'll worry about it next time. But I'm obviously a little bit closer, I think, although that may be what I had left. I don't recall offhand, so it may not have filled any. I don't know, that doesn't make any sense though. I knew with that tanker sticking out this would be a bit more tricky to get in, but made it work here. So we're good. Get disconnected. Get myself pulled away a bit. Alright. So, all set there. And I'll go ahead and see what I can get put into the silo. But I think I'm still going to have 3,000 or so left. but then by the time I plant next time, should be okay. I have a lot more left than I thought. So I've still got 6,800 liters. But we're a bit closer. And hopefully that'll work, and I'll worry about the rest later. I'm going to leave this truck out here. Just because it gets it kind of out of the way. But I might not need to fill anything anytime soon. We are getting low on hay. So yeah, I'm gonna have to move some things before the next cycle, I believe, but I'll definitely have to keep an eye out on that. I can probably move it in the other trailer, in the forage wagon, if I need to. So I think I'll be alright. If not, what I can do is I think, empty that into some pallets and then pick it up. So I'll just have to figure out what makes sense. I may have to put it into another planter or something, but I'll worry about that later. But at this point, yeah, we've used about 32,000 in supplies, again, between fertilizer and seed, which is the same that we did for wheat. It's just there's just a lot of fertilizer. It was like $26,000 or $24,000 of fertilizer. So a lot less seeds, but a lot more fertilizer for the canola. But about the same amount of material goes in. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow with the herbicide. So I will see you then.